This is the tale of a sweet orphan girl named Hallie, who has lived 5 years in the city with her Aunt Debbie. Now Debbie has found a new job in Frankfurt city and she can't take Hallie with her. With no choice, Debbie has decided that Hallie should stay with her grandfather Albert. Today the neighbors tell Debbie that Albert is a very grumpy and odd person, but Debbie had no other option. One day Debbie climbs the mountains holding little Hallie's hand. When a cool breeze blows on the path, Hallie smiles. She takes off her heavy shoes and thick coat to feel free and starts running on the grass in light clothes. Debbie tells her to walk carefully, but Hallie enjoys the mountain trail with a smile. This way, while playing and jumping, they reach the cabin on the mountaintop where Hallie's grandfather Albert lives. As soon as she sees her grandfather ahead, Debbie yells at him loudly. Albert glares at Debbie from afar and stands up. He shouts in a loud voice that he doesn't want the burden of this girl and both should go back. Debbie begs with folded hands to keep Hallie with him for a few days because she can't care for her now. But Albert wasn't ready to listen to anyone. Finally, Debbie takes a deep breath and says, "If you don't keep her, I'll take Hallie back to the city." Saying this, Debbie holds Hallie's hand and starts leaving. After a few steps, she secretly hides Hallie behind the cabin in a corner. Then she quickly descends the mountain. Albert soon realizes Debbie has tricked him and left Hallie and fled. He yells at Debbie, running down the valley in anger, but Debbie doesn't look back. Grabbing her, Albert goes inside his cabin and shuts the door. Little Hallie is left alone outside in the cold. Tears fill her eyes. When there's no reply from inside, she shivers, goes to the nearby small barn, and lies on the dry grass. Where the grandfather had 2 goats, Hallie is forced to spend her first night in that barn. The next morning, Albert comes out of the cabin and finds Hallie sleeping on the grass in the barn. Without saying a word, he takes out fresh goat milk and gives it to Hallie in a bowl. All day, he stays busy with his work and keeps ignoring Hallie. When evening darkens, Hallie asks in fear, "Grandpa, where should I sleep?" Albert says in a rough voice, "Wherever you want." Hallie sees a ladder in the cabin, climbs it, and reaches the barn. She sees a bed of dry grass above and a sky full of stars through a small window. Hallie joyfully makes that grass her bed and sleeps peacefully there for the first night. The next morning, Albert is busy chopping wood outside the house. He sees a boy aged 13 or 14 coming there. This is Peter, a village boy who takes everyone's goats to the mountains daily. Albert stops him and asks him to take his 2 goats with him. He also tells him that Hallie will come too so she can learn the mountain life. Albert ties her bread, cheese, and sausage for lunch, and she happily goes to the mountains with Peter and the goats in the mountains. Hallie chases the goats all day with Peter. They play with wildflowers and spend much time enjoying freedom. She is so joyful, as if she's soaring from a cage to the open sky. Peter keeps smiling at Hallie too. In the evening, when the sun sets and both goats return, Hallie's face glows with contentment because for the first time in her life, she has tasted such open freedom. In the evening, after returning to Albert's cabin, Hallie hesitates at first, but soon quiet love begins to grow. The next morning, Albert starts working on wood from dawn. He works hard for hours to craft a small wooden chair. In the evening, when Hallie returns home after playing, she sees 2 chairs on the dining table now. Albert waves at her and says, "Now you'll stay here forever." Hearing this, Hallie's joy knows no bounds. Tears flow from her eyes and she runs and hugs her grandfather. Years later, happiness returns to Albert's empty life. After that, time takes wings and begins to fly. Every day, Hallie grazes goats with Peter in the mountains, runs here and there, and stays happy in the open air. Her bond with Albert deepens too. After a while, snow begins to fall on the mountains and the cold sets in. In winter, Peter goes to his grandmother's house for a few months to attend school. Hallie now sometimes feels lonely on the mountains. To keep her happy, Albert carves a cute wooden bird and gives it to her as a gift. Then he also crafts a sturdy wooden sledge. Grandfather and granddaughter slide on snowy slopes for hours, and their laughter echoes in the valley. But these joyful days aren't forever. A few years pass and Hallie is now 8 years old. One day, Hallie's Aunt Debbie suddenly returns to the mountains. Seeing her, Hallie is very surprised and happy. Because in all these years, Debbie has come to meet her. For the first time, Albert's face shows no joy. Debbie says she has come from Frankfurt to take Hallie. There's a wealthy family there where Hallie will get a good opportunity. Albert says in a firm tone, "No, Hallie won't go anywhere. Her home is here, Debbie is stubborn too. She says, "I've always wanted the best for Hallie." The argument between them grows. In anger, Debbie is told to leave immediately. Debbie starts descending, but her plan is different. She quietly climbs the mountain from another path and reaches Hallie, who is playing with the goats. Debbie starts luring Hallie with sweet words. She says, "Hallie, your grandfather wants you to go to the city too. There you'll get a big school, new friends, and comfort. This will be good for you." Hallie gets scared and says she doesn't want to leave her grandfather. Debbie replies, "For your good, he's telling me to take you." Innocent Hallie starts believing Debbie's words. With a heavy heart, Hallie finally agrees. She thinks maybe grandfather truly wants her to live a good life. Debbie quickly grabs her hand and starts descending the mountain fast. Peter watches all this from behind a rock far away. He can't do anything. In the evening, when he takes the goats back and reaches Albert, he sighs and says Debbie has taken Hallie with her. Hearing this, Albert is stunned. For a moment, he feels his heart break. Then he runs down the valley with all his strength. He is old, but at that moment, Albert becomes young. He reaches the village panting. But by then, it's too late. Debbie has taken Hallie from the station. Albert is helpless and stands on the road staring at the path. His eyes are wet. The darkness from which he had escaped loneliness seems to return. After a long journey the next morning, Debbie brings Hallie to Frankfurt, Germany's big city. Seeing such tall buildings and crowds, Hallie is amazed. She had never seen such a big city before. After a while, they reach a grand mansion. This is Henry's house where Hallie must live. When the door is knocked, a servant comes out. Debbie tells her she has brought Hallie. The servant takes her inside. Seeing the splendor inside, Hallie is stunned. Then a loud voice echoes from the stairs. "Who is this?" This is Rebecca's voice, the governess of the house. She is a middle-aged woman with a strict nature hired by Henry to care for and manage his daughter. Rebecca comes down and suspiciously eyes Hallie from head to toe. In a messy frock, tangled hair, and bare feet, Hallie looks like a wild girl. Rebecca doesn't like this. She asks Debbie in a mocking tone, "Is this the girl?" Debbie folds her hands and explains, "Yes, madam, this is Hallie. You said a girl raised in a mountain setting is needed. Hallie is very good and clever. She will support Clara well," Rebecca mutters with a frown. "Let's see." Debbie quickly says goodbye to Hallie and leaves. Now Hallie must stay in this strange house. This is Clara, Henry's 13-year-old daughter who can't walk on her feet. Hallie smiles lightly, shakes her hand and says hello. Rebecca says sternly, "Clara, this is Hallie. She must teach you good manners and rules while staying with you." Clara responds and then says to Hallie, "Come to my room." Hallie and Clara become good friends from the first day. Hallie unknowingly makes one or two mistakes, like getting excited and pushing Clara's wheelchair fast, which hits a table. But Clara wisely takes the blame for Hallie's mistakes and calms Rebecca. This makes Hallie's heart love Clara deeply. Now Hallie needs to use the bathroom. The maids bathe her, dress her in clean clothes, fix her hair, and teach her to use knives and forks at the dining table. Hallie tries to learn all this. The biggest challenge comes with education. Every day, Hallie must study with Clara's private teacher. Soon, everyone learns that Hallie doesn't know how to study properly. Hearing this, Rebecca gets furious. She scolds, "She doesn't know anything. Such an uneducated girl can't stay in this house." She threatens to send Hallie back immediately. But it's her duty, so even Rebecca can't remove her. Slowly, Hallie tries to follow the house rules, but her heart remains stuck in the mountains. At night, she dreams of her grandfather and mountains, and sometimes walks in her sleep. Once or twice, the servants find her on the room's floor and are surprised why Hallie sleeps there. Hallie herself doesn't remember anything. When she gets time, she looks at the mountains from the window. She sees the green fields, her goats, and the fresh air. One day, Hallie thinks of a prank. She says to Clara, "Let's go out today." Clara gets scared because she can't go out alone, but when Hallie convinces her, she agrees. In the afternoon, without telling anyone, they leave through the back door. Both enjoy the open air in the park and see the city's bustle. After a few hours, when they return, the servants find them and bring them home. As soon as Rebecca finds out, she gets angry. As punishment, she denies Hallie dinner and makes her face consequences. The servants leave their rooms. Hallie decides she will escape from here. She takes bread from her coat pocket, which she saved from dinner. Then she slowly opens the main door so no one wakes up. Then a loud voice echoes, "Where are you, Hallie?" Hallie panics and turns around. Rebecca stands with a lollipop in hand. Hallie is caught. A small bread bag falls from her, and the bread rolls scatter on the floor. Rebecca sees she tried to escape from her room. She yells at her daughter loudly, "Don't run away from here." Hallie is also lost and sad. She starts having nightmares every night. A few days later, Hallie and Clara talk again. Hallie holds Clara's hand, cries and apologizes, saying, "I'll never leave you. You're my dearest friend." Clara hugs her while crying too. The two make up again, and Clara's health starts improving. After a few weeks, Henry returns from his overseas trip. His mother, Margaret, comes with him. The house becomes lively again. Clara runs and hugs her father. Henry sees his daughter glowing. Then he sees little Hallie standing nearby. Clara excitedly says, "Papa, this is my friend Hallie." Henry pats Hallie's head with love and welcomes her with a smile. Margaret steps forward and takes Hallie in her arms. Hallie feels her grandmother's love in her warm embrace, and her eyes get wet. After a while, Rebecca complains to Henry loudly that Hallie is a mountain girl and she knows nothing. She wants Henry to send Hallie back immediately. Margaret hears this and smiles. "First, I'll see this girl myself." That evening, Margaret sits Hallie beside her and starts reading a storybook. After a while, she stops suddenly and says, "Now you read on." Hallie gets scared and says, "Grandma, I don't know how to read well." Margaret explains lovingly, "It's okay, try it. You like stories, right? If you read yourself, you'll learn so many stories." Hallie is touched by her grandmother's words and they warm her heart. She decides to work hard and learn to read. Margaret encourages her and helps her recognize some words. Hallie's eyes shine with hope. After that event, Hallie starts practicing daily. But with this, a strange thing begins in the house. For many nights, the servants feel a noise in the house. Sometimes there's a slight creak on the stairs. Sometimes there's a sound of a door closing. All the servants say, "Maybe there's a ghost in the house." Rebecca starts praying in the evening. Henry doesn't believe in ghosts, but the mood is a bit spooky. One night, Henry sees Hallie sleepwalking at midnight. She opens the main door and stands outside in the dark, looking toward the mountains. The next day, the doctors say Hallie's longing for her home has made her sick, and she must return to the mountains immediately. Henry makes this decision with a heavy heart. When Clara learns Hallie will be sent back, she starts crying. She begs her father not to let Hallie go, but there's no other choice. Hallie is also sad to leave her best friend, but she's happy to return home. One day before her departure, Clara gets angry and locks herself in her room. Hallie tries to explain that she'll come to meet her again, but Clara doesn't listen, crying. The day Hallie must leave the servants, pack her food and gifts so she can take something to her family on the mountain. Margaret hugs Hallie lovingly and bids her farewell. Hallie takes out a small wooden bird from her luggage, which Albert made for her. Hallie gives the toy to Henry and says, "Please give it to Clara and tell her I'll miss her a lot. Promise me to bring her to the mountain." Henry promises that if the time comes, he'll bring Clara to meet Hallie. Hallie sits in the train and waves goodbye to everyone from the window. Rebecca breathes in relief that she'll return home in peace. Clara keeps shedding tears from her room's window, but she has hope in her heart that she'll meet Hallie again. After a long journey, Hallie returns to her lovely mountain village. As soon as she gets off at the station, she happily takes off her shoes and starts running barefoot on the green grass. First, she reaches her friend Peter's house. Peter and his mother are stunned to see her. Hallie goes straight inside to the blind grandma and hugs her lovingly. Then she takes out fresh bread from the basket and places it in her grandma's hands. Hallie smiles and runs toward the mountain peak where her cabin is. On the way, Hallie takes off her fancy city dress to run faster. From afar, she sees her house's roof on the mountain. The sun is setting, and Albert stands in the courtyard looking toward the road, as if waiting for someone. Suddenly, he sees Hallie running on the mountain path. Albert can't believe his eyes. The next moment, Hallie comes to him shouting, "Grandpa, I'm back." He hugs his dear granddaughter. The separation of so many months washes away in their tears. Hallie finally finds her true home again. After Hallie's return, her life fills with joy again. She runs on the mountains, daily plays with the goats, and helps her grandpa. Besides this, Hallie writes letters to Clara regularly with all the exciting mountain stories and invites her to visit again. Finally, that day comes. After getting many letters from Hallie, Clara, and Margaret plan to go to the Alps. It's a sunny summer morning. Clara, her grandmother, and servants go to Hallie's village in a horse-drawn carriage. Hallie is overjoyed to see them. She runs and hugs Clara tightly. Margaret asks Albert to stay with them on the mountain for a few days. Albert is happy and welcomes the guests. This is how Clara's stay on the mountains begins. Hallie helps Clara enjoy the simple mountain life, feeling the sun's first rays in the open air. Roaming in the grasslands with the goats sleeping on dry grass, in the loft at night, and looking at the starry sky. All this is a new and magical experience for Clara. She feels happiness here she never felt in the city's closed spaces. But here, Peter feels Hallie is giving more time to Clara. Filled with jealousy one morning, he pushes Clara's wheelchair from the hillside. The wheelchair falls and breaks. Albert quickly understands it's Peter's mischief. He scolds Peter, who bows his head in shame. Albert carries Clara on his back and takes her to the mountain's height. Seeing the beautiful scenery spread far, Clara's face glows with joy. Meanwhile, a colorful butterfly flies in and lands on Clara's feet. Clara reaches out to catch it and unknowingly stands on her feet. Seeing this Hallie, Peter and Albert's eyes fill with joy. After this event in the next few days, Hallie and Peter support Clara and teach her to walk slowly. With steady practice, Clara's legs regain strength and she walks better each day. After a while, Margaret and Henry arrive at the mountain to take Clara. Henry is worried at first that bringing his sick daughter to the mountain was risky, but as soon as Clara walks on her feet to the door, his worry turns to joy. He embraces Clara emotionally and thanks Hallie from his heart for this miracle at departure. Margaret gives Hallie a beautiful notebook and pen as a gift. She says, "You like to write, right? Here, take your diary. Write your stories every day and always follow your heart." Hallie holds that gift close to her heart and thanks her with her eyes. Before leaving, Clara hugs Hallie and says, "We'll meet again soon." Hallie says goodbye with a smile, and with this, Hallie's heartfelt and beautiful tale ends. Finally, Hallie finds her true family, true friendship, and a life full of freedom. Now she lives a joyful life on the mountains with her grandfather and friend Peter, and in her new diary, writing little by little each day, she moves forward on the path to fulfilling her dreams. And with this lovely tale ends here,